This is the conclusion of my summary of Manly Palmer Hall's short book, The Sacred Magic of the Qabbalah. In part 2, Manly Palmer Hall discusses what he calls the mystery of the numbers, and he goes through the numbers from 0 to 9 and talks about the significance and mystery of each one. The mystery of number 1. According to the ancient wisdom, all numbers came forth out of Ein Sof, the unknown, the dot, the absolute. The 1 will eventually ascend back into the absolute, the formless dot. All things in the world today come out of this unmanifest no thing. This means all beings came out of the same unified source, and the family tree of all people can be traced back to this one dot. Therefore, all are equal in opportunity and possibility. The job of the human is to use these opportunities to learn and grow. The refusal to do so contributes to the inequalities we see in the world. The ultimate goal of all things is to achieve perfection. We must struggle for it, and that is a process. We are in the process of becoming and unfolding. All things are stages in this process of unfolding. We are all in phases of life, of the unfoldment of one thing. We are part of one connected life, and all thought is a unity. The depth of our thinking, however, depends on how well we are able to attune our consciousness to the planes of thought. This has the effect of energizing our mental powers. The number 1 governs the reason for all our labors here. There's one goal of all of it, and that is to unite our intelligence with that of the Creator, the Ancient of Days. We do this by aligning our internal body centers to that of the macrocosmic man. This is called evolution. The one source of life exists in the world as a multiplicity. It is diversified into millions of forms. The one is like a ray of light which spreads out, and through it the spirit takes form. Consciousness in man is always spreading out and growing, and its path is from unconscious oneness to semi-conscious manyness, and then back again to superconscious unity. All diversity is destined to return again to its own source. When he returns to the source again, man has the circle of a completed cycle to add to the extended point of first expression. This is symbolized by the number 10. It signifies the completion of the first round because it is the one and the round or cipher. All life is symbolized by a great circle, which returns again to that from which it came, a serpent with its tail in its mouth. The one returns to itself after experiencing the circle of manyness. The young soul is the expression of one pouring itself into manyness in search of experience. The old soul has increased in oneness to contain all diversity and all manyness and still remains a unit. The old soul gathers the fruit of his works and returns with them to unity. These souls have raised their spiritual consciousness above the planes of matter. 1 is the number of the Father. The mystery of the number 2. The number 2 is symbolic of duality. The one outpouring, reflecting itself in matter, is called the 2. 2 is the first negative number because when divided, there's no remainder. All even numbers are negative, feminine, and ruled by the moon. All odd numbers are positive because an odd number cannot be divided without leaving the first cause, 1, in the center. They are under the dominion of the sun. 2 is the number of the earth, the base of form. This is the negative pole of life and was called by the ancients the Divine Mother. Those humans who are ruled by appetites and passions and are swayed by emotion are negative types, while those who rule their bodies in wisdom and integrity are positive types. All true mystics and occultists are positive. Man is said to be negative when the chakras in the body are nourished by the spinal fires descending through the black serpent, and those who raise these powers are positive. The positive person is nourished by the ascending white serpent of wisdom. This is the serpent raised by Moses in the wilderness. Man must learn to unify the two opposing forces within him. If he does not, these steal his powers of concentration. That is why 2 is the number of unconsciousness, because the single spiritual power is broken and its flow impeded. The domination of one of the forces over the other means the destruction of both. Equilibrium is the point of greatest efficiency in nature. When humans upset their sense of equilibrium and go toward extremes, they experience distortion in judgment. Peace can never result from going to extremes, for as the pendulum swings in one direction, so it will swing back and react in the opposite direction. Through the knowledge of opposites, we gain the power of discrimination and learn to blend differences into unity. Every element in nature has its opposite. Usually the opposite of a thing is the lack of that thing. For example, darkness is the absence of light. The mystery of the number 3. The number 3 is symbolized by the triangle. The basic principles of 3 are spirit, soul, and body. It manifests in the world of form as thought, desire, and action. These are the attributes of the threefold divinity, and these 3 forces mold the destiny of all living things. The 3 spiritual phases are the centers of life and consciousness, and the 3 bodies are methods of expression by which the spiritual consciousness of man expresses itself in the world. The divine 3 is born out of the duality of the 2. The divine 3 is born in man as a result of the power of discrimination and the union of spirit, mind, and body. The secret of the philosopher's stone is the method for union of spirit, mind, and body. The philosopher's stone is composed of the 3 elements, salt, sulfur, and mercury. The number 3 is also known as the Threefold Path, and it symbolizes the highest expression of the 3 main divisions of human character. The 3 paths are symbolized by a philosopher, a priest, and a soldier. Occultism is the path of the philosopher, mysticism the path of the priest, and service the path of the soldier. The 3 is also the number of the 3 worlds that the Kabbalist investigates. It also represents the 3 grand centers in the human body, the brain, heart, and generative system. The triangle is symbolic of the 3 great universal natures blending together to serve the divine. The number 3 is also symbolic of balance and equilibrium. The triangle is equilateral, and all of its sides are of equal length. When the point of the triangle is upward, it represents human consciousness rising out of form to union with the divine source. When its point is downward, it represents the powers descending into matter to mold into a semblance of the Trinity of Spirit. The mystery of the number 4. 4 is the symbol that represents the path of accomplishment and the labors that must be done. It is represented as a cube or stone within which life is imprisoned. Liberating life from its vestments of ignorance is the next task that needs to be accomplished. 4 is the number of matter. All form is made up of 4 elements: carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. The more a person evolves, the more that individual controls their own body. The 4 principles form the cross upon which is crucified the spirit of life. 4 is the symbol of crystallization. It is also known as the number of impediment. In astrology, 4 is symbolized as a square. In the points where the square falls, crystallization has not yet given place to visualization and vitalization. Even though 4 is the number of impediment, it actually benefits us because it presents us with a problem to be solved. In alchemy, the cube block of salt symbolizes matter and is symbolic of the body. The square, then, is the symbol of the tomb, and this holy sepulchre is the tomb of matter in which our own spiritual nature lies buried. This is the cross of 4 arms that man must carry in order to realize his true self. One corner of the square stands for the physical body, which must be taken care of. Another corner of the square represents the emotions, which must be mastered. The third corner stands for body crystallization, and any destructive thoughts we may have react upon us as the 4th corner. When we have not been true to any of these 4, our nature collapses and we are buried in the tomb of matter under the symbol of the 4. If man is able to get control over his thoughts, feelings, and actions, he can transmute the square tomb of stone into a cube or glass from which the light of spirit can shine through. The mystery of the number 5. 5 is the number of the philosopher. It is made up of the 4 elements plus spirit. 5 is called the Christ, and in the tarot deck, it is the Hierophant or priest. It represents the spirit of man rising from the tomb of matter. Those who have lived through the laws of the 4 have mastered themselves and become the 5. This means they are liberated from the tomb of matter. The geometric form of 5 is the pyramid, in which one corner rises from the 4 corners of the base. The 5 is the spiritual number. Man must be able to attune his lesser self with his greater self. When this happens, the tiny spark gains the ability to speak to its parent, the great spark. In order for this to take place, the man's life must be freed from the form. The form is not to be destroyed, but instead the process is one of freeing the 1 from the 4. We will not be able to complete this work if we are unbalanced. This is the stage of regeneration of the bodies. If our bodies are crystallized and broken, we cannot perform the labors that give us a right to our position in the great plan. These 4 bodies are our cross, upon which the 1 is crucified. We are only able to see the 4 when we are absorbed in materiality. As we revivify the cross through right living, then the 1 and man become the divine 5. Fear, selfishness, and egotism disappear when the 1 dictates to the 4. The spiritual man, the 1, is robed in the purified garments of the 4. This is a great mystery of the Qabbalah and must be lived before it can be understood. The mystery of the number 6. The 2 interlaced triangles that make up the 6-pointed star or shield of David show man consists of 2 interlaced triangles as well. These are the threefold spiritual body and the threefold form. In the Trinity of creation are the 3 builders of the temple. They form the first triangle with its point descending into matter. The 3 master builders are the 3 lords of creation: Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva of India, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost of Christianity, Amun, Ra, and Osiris of Egypt. Each of these represents the divine triangle. The ancient Kabbalists referred to these as the vehicles of causation. The 3 kings take up their dwelling places in the brain, heart, and generative system of man. These are their thrones. 6 is the number of materiality because it is symbolic of the union of spirit and matter. The 2 triangles are symbolic of fire and water, and when they are interlaced, they stand for the philosopher's diamond. They also stand for the blending of all pairs of opposites within man's being. They represent the 6 senses as well. The 6th sense is clear vision and the ability to function on the astral plane. This is a latent faculty in man that must be unfolded, and when it happens, it helps man to gain mastery over his emotional nature. The figure 6 is a line descending into a circle. The coil with the line descending is symbolic of the serpent's coil, which descends in 9 and ascends in 6. The 6 is the serpent returning upward to the power which was its source. The mystery of the number 7. 7 is the number of the Mosaic law. It is called the day of completion. The ancients taught all things were made in 7 days. From an esoteric standpoint, we see that all life is divided into 7 parts, and the consciousness through these 7 divisions constitutes what are known as the days of creation. The 7 parts are the centers of consciousness, vowels, notes, colors, and senses in the body of the cosmic man. The pathway of human evolution winds in and out of these 7 centers, finally uniting them. The 7 days of creation are not about man-made time. Instead, they are steps in the unfolding of the soul. Man finishes the day of creation when he raises his consciousness 1 full rate of vibration. When man completes his evolution and the soul has finished its days of wandering, it is liberated upon the 7th day. 7 fundamental laws mold all created things. All individuals are subject to these laws. However, even though the law never varies in its fundamental principles, its effects can vary according to the individual person. This is why it is important for all students to realize that their great work is to analyze reasons, to understand causes, and most of all, to discover their own weak points. This way, the student can work to strengthen these weak points as quickly as possible. Because this is an individual process, all students must give to others the same freedom of expression to complete the work in his or her own fashion. According to Manly Palmer Hall, God will allow the drinker to drink and the raver to rave until the individual himself learns his lessons in his own way. 7 is the number of knowledge. The 7 liberal arts and sciences and all of the various elements that make up the knowledge of the earth must be mastered. The first step is to learn the laws of being. The second step is to live by these laws to the best of one's ability. To work out a problem and get it wrong can contribute more to the growth of the soul than to have someone else tell you what to do. It is important for the thinker and the worker to reason out a problem. Only those who understand this learn the sacred mystery of the Qabbalah. 7 is the number of divine harmony, for it is the music of the spheres. All nature is one great harmonious melody to those who can harmonize themselves with it. By doing this, we harmonize ourselves with the divine plan. The mystery of the number 8. 8 is the divine symbol of vitality, the symbol of the mystic marriage and of spiritual and physical regeneration. The 8 stands for the bringing back again of that which is lost. It is the return of those forces which have been redeemed from the animal world. In Hall's words, it is the fusing or joining of the broken ends of the spiritual circuits which, combining in the body of man, form the spiritual wedding ring. The ring unites the masculine and feminine natures within himself. This process is called raising the sleeping serpent and also the hermetic marriage in the Kabbalistic union. The mystery of the number 9. 9 is the number of humanity, or the symbol of incompletion. It is the number of a man's body, for it takes 9 months to build the human form. Man is 12 and is symbolized in this way in nearly all of the ancient readings and teachings. 12 is 9 plus 3. According to Hall, this is the point at which Freemasonry enters the scene. This is because of the 3 steps of the entered apprentice, the fellow craftsman, and the master mason, added to the 9 months of physical gestation, the 3 degrees of spiritual birth. So 9 is called by the ancients the broken wheel, and the broken wheel is completed when the 9 months of physical birth and the 3 months of spiritual birth are added together. This makes the man the perfect 12. Man must wander in the lower worlds until he makes of his 9 a 12. Happiness comes only in completion. 9 is considered evil only because it is unfinished. Man completes his birth when he goes up the 3 steps that lead to the temple. 3 times 3 is 9, and the 33 degrees of the ancient rite of masonry are very closely connected with the history of man. Each vertebra of the human spine represents a year or a degree. There are 33 segments in the human spine, and there are 33 degrees in Freemasonry. The human spine is Jacob's ladder. The ancients believed the angels ascended and descended upon this ladder. To the Kabbalists, the mystery of numbers is unveiled. 666 is the number of the beast in Revelation. When its digits are added together, it makes 18. When 18 is broken down into 1 and 8 and added together, it is 9. Therefore, man is himself the beast. The book of Revelation also says that 144,000 shall be saved. When the digits of this number are added, the total is also 9, which proves that man also is to be saved as a unit or a mass. And then the last part of this little book is part 3, the power of invocation and the science of sacred names. So in the last brief part of his book, he discusses the power of invocation that was used by the ancient Kabbalists. He says that the ancient masters of ceremonial magic and the Kabbalistic arts knew that when the names of the celestial influxes and personified natural forces were invoked, these beings were forced to appear in answer to the summons of the magicians. However, the proper instructions had to be carefully followed or serious harm would come to the magician. Varying combinations of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet and the vowels were used to produce the conjurations of the ancient magicians. These magicians, by their magic power, learned how to combine these symbols into the forms of great celestial beings. Hall says man must learn that he is identical with these letters. He says, "We are the living invocation, and our every thought and action spells out a word. These words are the numbers of things, and when we spell out their names, they come to us." He says the reason the average interpretation of Christianity does not appease the soul hunger of the Christian student is because he has only the crystallized external ritual. The sublime magic of invocation, taught by the adepts of the white school, is missing. He distinguishes this magic from that of the black magicians, however. And he says these black magicians sell their souls to the demon and build their circle of evil thoughts and emotions. They invoke spirits by speaking the divine name, but can only draw upon the powers of negation and the principles of evil. This is because the life of the black magician has spoken the word, and it must draw that which is like onto itself. Hall ends the book by stating that the Kabbalah is a science by which the sacred name is learned, and the secret of the Kabbalah is that your own life is the word, and whatever that is, that will you invoke. Man is the living magician, juggling with the elements of nature. He is the living ritual, the living secret, and the living magic of the Kabbalah.